So, thank you. So, this is a speaker meeting. Our speaker will share her experience, strength, and hope for approximately 45 minutes. We ask for out of respect for our speaker to remain seated until she has finished. It is my pleasure to introduce Rachel.
My name's Rachel. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm super nervous, so please bear with me. I'm not used to speaking in front of so many people. Let's see. Like I said, I am from Whittier, California. My mom is Nan, the speaker getter, so that's how I ended up here. Um, I My sobriety birth date is June 16th of 20 or June 14, 2015. So, and I'm extremely grateful for that day. I hope that I can speak from my heart tonight and reach some of the people, the newcomers that identified, and give you some hope that this program does work. So, am I good? Short. Okay. That's good. Better? It's right in my face, I'm too short. Let's see. So I think like a lot of us, I grew up just feeling very disassociated from life in general. I felt really uncomfortable around people. And that's pretty across the board, I think, for alcoholics. That's normal for us, right? When I was young, I had some medical issues that they couldn't find solutions to for me, so they started prescribing me pain medication at a really young age. I'd say about 5. And I think that was my first taste of something that altered my mind. I remember at about 10 years old, going into the medicine cabinet, pulling out the bottle, and knowing that an extra swig was going to make me feel a little bit more calm than normal, and that kind of just progressed, that feeling of being very just uncomfortable in my own skin, unable to deal with life and life's what it throws at you. And I think my first drink was rather young. I would say I'm around 13 or 14, being at like a family party and taking the extras off, from the bottom of everyone's glasses, and feeling that release of like fear, right? The fear of people, places, and things. The fear of people judging me, or I'm not going to fit in, or I'm not going to be good enough. I felt for the first time like I fit in. I felt pretty for the first time, I think, that night. I felt okay. I felt worthy of attention, right? And I think that just that continued through my life. I don't think my heavy drinking started in high school. I really enjoyed trying to fit in with the guys. I started blacking out in high school. I remember, times where I would be out with my girlfriends and not know how I got home, or, where I was or what I had done. And that started young. That scared me. But it didn't scare me enough to not drink so much. As soon as I had liquor near me, I just had to ingest it as much as I could, and I wouldn't stop until I was barfing. And even that sometimes didn't stop me, especially in the end, which I'll get to. So I just continued drinking, hanging out with the guys. I didn't really have any responsibilities. I didn't really have anything to worry about at that age. And my drinking was just out of control. I wanted to drink the guys under the table. I wanted to do the beer bong. I wanted, smoke the weed, do everything I could do, just to not have to feel the same as I usually do. And see. So I graduated high school. I continued drinking. The real problems that started happening, I guess to qualify, I can say, the blacking out and the destructive behavior and the putting people in situations that they shouldn't have to be in, continued through, through my teens and 20s. And I, out of high school, got in a relationship with a man that I thought he liked to party like I did, but shortly after, starting to date him, told me he was the first person that said, "You drink too much. You need to lay back. Step back, just have a couple." I remember one time going to this club. It was called Hamburger Mary's. I don't think any of you probably know what that is, but it's a big drag club in Long Beach. They do mimosas and it's really fun. But I was by the time I got there, I was barfing, and I got to the bathroom, barfed, and someone had to drive me back home to Chino because I was not a sight that anyone wanted to be around. But those are the kind of behaviors that just continue to happen. So my drinking got worse, and the guide told me, "You need to cut back on the drinking." So I was like, okay. At the same time, I was getting sick again and got a diagnosis and was prescribed. Drugs are a part of my story, specifically pills, so I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I apologize if it offends anybody, but it really, it got bad with the pills. So they started prescribing me pain medicine, and I knew I liked it, It wasn't no, I'm not going to take that, It was, I enjoyed taking pills. And let me have a drink of water. I started, I think that was about 21, so I could cut back on the booze. This was my, and I could make up with it in the pills. And I just started manipulating the doctors into I can't sleep, every muscle in my body hurts, every bone in everything hurt, everything was a problem. I have anxiety. So I had a rotation of 6 narcotics, a month's supply in a month, so I'm taking one for a week. And I remember looking at the calendar and this week I'm going to have Vicodin, the next week I'm going to have Soma, the next week I'm going to have Ambien, and then that last week I'm going to have to drink a lot. So, I'm managing my drinking and my using already, and this is 21 years old, I'm managing it. I know it's a problem. I'm trying to make it work for my life, and at that point it was manageable. And I could do life, I would take a little too many Vicodins and then be barfing everywhere, but I could cut back a little. But what happened was, I just went out of control. So I married the guy, which was, your first love. You don't know what you're doing, you're not in a right mind. You don't know how to do life. That was another thing. My drinking was always a solution for me not being able to deal with reality, right? Living life on life's terms, like we learn about in the program. So I couldn't do life. Something hurt me emotionally, physically, whatever, financially. I needed to drink to deal with life. That was across the board. No matter what, I needed a drink so that I could deal with the things happening or the people in my life or the places I found myself. And so I just, I'm juggling the pill and the drinking, and I marry the guy, and I'm still, just trying to manage this. And pills make it a little easier to manage because you can really hide it, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I can manipulate the doctor, I can get what I want, but all these character defects are coming out in me. And I wanted to talk about also the qualities of the person I was, because it's not just that I was drinking so much, but the kind of person I was not a pleasant pleasant person, you know. I'm irritable, I'm discontent, I'm picking fights with everyone around me just so I can, you know, put up with myself, really, is what the gist of it was. I'm a bitch everywhere I go. I am nasty. I am want my way. I am selfish. You know, I remember times in my life where important people to me needed me. You know, they needed me. They needed me to be a strong person to help them, and I couldn't do that. You know, I couldn't show up for the people in my life. Like, it just became all about Rachel and what Rachel wanted, and how was Rachel going to get it. You know. And walking around hating everyone, finding a problem in every person I come into contact with. Going home, you know, drinking throughout the day, using throughout the day, just so I can function in the, you know, society, and I'm a raging bitch, you know. And so I get married, the raging bitch I was, you know, and picking fights, and eventually I get pregnant and I get pregnant, and it wasn't a planned thing. It wasn't like, oh, I want a baby and it's coming. It was like, what the, I hope no one gets, you know, it's okay with cussing, but what the fuck do I do now, you know? Like, I know I have a major addiction to pills and alcohol, and now I have a baby growing in me. What do I do, right? And I was able to cut back. I wasn't using, and I wasn't drinking. I wasn't using, but I was, you know, taking one or two for the things I needed. You know, I needed to sleep, so I needed the Ambien, or I needed, you know, my back hurt, carrying a baby, I needed a pain pill. The doctor said it was okay, you know. I'm justifying everything. And that baby was born, and I, you know, with every ounce of me, like when I looked at my son, I never wanted to drink or use ever again, you know. I didn't want to have to put him through hell, you know. But it didn't go that way, and life again caught up with me. You know, I stayed somewhat sober for about 6 months of his life, but life was difficult. My son had been born with a cleft palate, so he had to have several surgeries at a young age, and it was terrifying. And I had, you know, drank and used through every obstacle in my life up to that point, when I was hurting and terrified and scared inside. I didn't know how to say, you know, this, I need to tell you I'm scared, you know. I didn't say that out loud. I drank that, you know, and I started drinking and I started using, like, and it was nothing like when I was using and drinking and managing it. It was like a waterfall, you know. I just couldn't stop, you know. I was in complete addiction mode. There were things happening in my marriage. My husband at the time had started getting physical because he couldn't deal with me, and I didn't know how to leave, you know. I didn't know how to deal with life on life's terms. And what my disease took me to in that moment, you know, it's my fault. You know, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that when life gets more difficult, it's a lot easier for me to find the solution in a drink or a pill or something that doesn't make me feel the way I'm feeling, you know. So at that point, I started just drinking around the clock. It was really fast. I got back on all those pain medicines. Like the severity of it, I will try to describe to you, because I think that's important. That got me to a place. So my son was 6 months old. I didn't have a job at the time. I had stopped working and was going to stay home with him. And hold on. I started by buying 3 bottles of wine every day. So I'd put my 6-month-old in the back seat of my car. First of all, I'd leave half a bottle of wine from the night before so that I could down that, after my husband left, just to get to the store. I'd always go to Walmart because the wine was potent and $2 a bottle. So I could buy 3 bottles. I could buy 3 bottles of the wine. And it wasn't like I was drinking it to taste it. It was drinking it to get as, fucked up as I could. So I had already had a half bottle of wine. I'm driving my son to Walmart to get 3 more, then get home, drink another half a bottle, put him down for a nap, and then nap with him because I'm tired from, the bottle of wine I'd already drank, and then just start downing the rest of them, always leaving that half a bottle to have in the morning. So this was me trying to manage it yet again, and the other things that were happening, the pills, I was taking the pills, I remember 2 very distinct days. There was a day that I had a bottle of 90 Vicodin. I had gotten to get refilled at 10 in the morning, and 10 in the morning the next day, the entire bottle was gone, and I had taken 90 Vicodin in a 24-hour period. And I remember looking at that and thinking, I was barfing like I normally did, but that, this was how bad I was. I was barfing in the toilet. I think I had to go to bed early. I'm probably overdosing, I'm probably, that is God. That was God working in my life then. Why did my son was home alone with me, the what could have happened terrifies me so much that when I think of a moment I don't think I can handle in life today, I think of that moment, and God gave me a life. I definitely should not be alive after just what I was ingesting. I tell this story not very often, but it's gross. I was so, the pills and the booze were so important to me. I would drink and barf a lot. I would pull the pills out of the barf and eat them. It was disgusting. I was disgusting. It's not, at the end, it was not a pretty romantic picture anymore that I had in my mind of drinking. So I started making some other bad choices. My husband was, making some bad choices. We were not getting along. There were days these are the situations I put myself into. He was had me up against the wall, choking me, and I'm staring at my 1-year-old sitting there, and I'm like, how the fuck did I get here? We're probably fighting because I'm high as fuck and he doesn't know what to do with me. This is what in retrospect, but as soon as he put me down, I went and refilled my prescription. That's what I did that day. I'm having this moment where my son is watching physical violence on his mom, and all I wanted was to be high. And, those days when I'm barfing on the toilet, should be dying and my son's there, I was not thinking of him. That was selfish, That was so beyond selfish. That was not putting him first. So what happened was a lot of fights and, a lot of drinking and using happened. And my husband called my mother to come and get me, that he couldn't deal with me anymore and he was probably going to kill me if he continued trying. And she came and got me from his house in the middle of it was very late at night, and I was so messed up. It was in December, and we had gone to a Christmas party, and I had, taken Soma before I got there, drank before I got there, blacked out, and he had to drive, we both had to drive home, and then he caught me doing other bad things, and it was just chaos. And my mother came and picked me up that night, beyond fucked up. And she was living in Whittier at the time, and she brought me to her house, and she reminded me that the only thing I was saying that night was that that I felt free, you know. I did feel free at that moment, but I feel even freer today, you know. So I moved in with her, and she had been sober for, I would say, about a couple months. She was pretty new, but she told me that I had to go to a meeting if I was going to live with her, and I had to stop drinking and using, which that didn't happen, but I went to the meetings. I went to the meetings, and I got my first taste of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it took me 6 months from that day that she picked me up. I started trying to get my life together a little, and I was cutting back too, but it took me 6 months in the program, and that's what I like. I love the people that keep coming back. You know, if you're high, if you're drunk, just keep coming back, because one day you might get the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous. You'll get that miracle that we all have received, and. So I was living in her house. I was trying my best, and kind of started getting things together a little bit, and still using, still making bad choices, but it was a little bit less than what it was. And I heard the things, and I heard the hope that I saw in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I did get to go know women. Like, at the end of my drinking, I did not have any friends left. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just isolated. Me and my son got drunk. I got drunk all day, and he was my sidekick, really, right? Let's see. And so 6 months in the program, coming into meetings, seeing the hope, seeing the excitement in people's eyes to be here, to share this common bond, to be sober. And I don't know, that gift, it was a gift, because at the point I had gotten to was that coming in and out, I think, really helped. I got to this point in my life where I just felt hollow. I didn't feel like a human being. I felt like just I always think of like a corpse walking around. Like I was just a walking dead person. And I had nothing left in me. And I didn't want to have to keep picking up the pills and the drinks. And I didn't want to have to keep, making the choices I was making. But I couldn't comprehend not drinking one day at a time, because it was one day at a time that was going to add up to the rest of my life, and that just wasn't going to happen. I didn't believe that could happen. And that emptiness and the hope and all these things started to come into me, and I received that, that miracle really on June 14th of 2015. That was God. That was not anything to do with me. That was my first, it was my surrender, and it was my first gift from the higher power that I believe in. Because I knew that morning when I woke up, like, I was desperate enough to do anything to stay sober at that point, and I would have done anything. I mean, and I haven't had to drink since then. And I feel like if I continue to try and work at my program, I think that I have a pretty good chance that I won't, So I forgot where, June 14th, 2015. So what I did was, I was desperate and willing to do anything to stay sober. I got a sponsor and asked her what I needed to do every day to stay sober. The first month, 2 months is hard, so hard. I mean, the only thing I could do was like sit on my hands and pray the entire day. Please don't let me drink today. Please don't let me drink. And that was literally what I did pretty much every day. I mean, I was working, and I was, driving my son to school and, doing some things, but it was every moment of a little bit of downtime. I was, please don't let me drink today. And so I grabbed, and I remembered the desperation that was in me was just so strong. What I wanted so bad to not have to use or drink anymore. I called every doctor I'd ever seen and told them I was an addict and that I needed them to never prescribe me a pill again. I went to the pharmacist that I had fought with like probably 20 times because they wouldn't give it to me when I wanted it, and told them, I'm an addict. I cannot have any prescriptions ever again. And I did what my sponsor told me, and the things she started with were gratitude lists and affirmations, and calling her every day. And I still try to do my gratitude list as much as possible. I feel I'm very fond of gratitude lists. I think they help us change our perspective and our look on life. So I jumped in, I jumped in as much as I could. I got commitments. I worked the steps right away, quite quickly. I think I was done in the first year of my sobriety. And, I love the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I think number 3 is always my favorite. I use that one daily, if not like hourly some days when I'm irritated and grumpy. And, leaning on my higher power connection with God. I love sobriety so much, there's too much to say, I love the life I have today. I love the peace that AA has given me. I love the serenity. Building that relationship with God is the most important part, for me. Could be different for everyone else, but I feel like when I trust as much as I can in my higher power, I can walk through whatever life throws at me today, And so that, and God wasn't always easy for me. It wasn't something, it was like those moments where I'm in deep shit and I'm like, God, help me now, please. I'm here. I need my favor. But now it's like, it's so different. The relationship I have with my higher power is so different. I try never to ask for anything. I say, how can I show up for the people in my life today? How can I show up for you? How can I be useful to the people that I come in contact with on a daily basis? And that's, the third step. It's getting out of self and trusting our God. Doing an inventory. I still try to practice that when I'm irritated or frustrated with somebody, something, some person, place, thing, right? I do a small inventory on it. Let's see, I'm getting, so in what what has happened to me, I don't have to be the crazy bitch of a person I was. I can be a little bit more understanding. Like I'm doing some other step work right now for something else, but it's step work, and I'm seeing that I am still the control freak I was at one point. I still want life to go just as I want it to go, but it's just in a little bit different way, And I'm grateful for the program of Alcoholics Anonymous that I can continue to grow. I can continue to be the best version of Rachel I can be today, and. So in sobriety, so I got sober, and life, quick, it was relatively fast for me. That life started turning around, and I think that happens a lot. We get that pink cloud of just that there's hope for life again, right? That there's something more than the way that I had been living before. And so today, so what happened was I got a better job. Life started working out. I had my son, more people started trusting him with me alone. I didn't have to lie about who was with me so that I could have my son. My girlfriends and I joke about this all the time, but I feel so grateful that I can pick him up from school every day, like sober and not forget and not be drunk and not be having, child services called on me. It's a beautiful life. So I moved into my mom's apartment. She moved out. I stayed there, and so I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. I'll just go with the story so that I got sidetracked. So I had moved in with my mom and she moved out and I started to just live there. I had a job that I was grateful to have a job, but it wasn't a great job. It was like factory work, and it was not, something that was going to help me to survive on my own. These are the kind of miracles that started happening in my life. So I was at a meeting, 6 months sober, a speaker meeting like this, and we had a speaker. I go to a Saturday night speaker meeting a lot like this. We haven't got to meet for a very long time, almost a year. We're all on Zoom. But she was our speaker that night, and she was talking about her life, and her job. And I went up to her job. She was a travel agent, and I went up to her after, and I was like, that sounds like an amazing job. How did you do that? And she quickly gave me the resources on how to find it. And, I got that job, and it was just like God placed it in my lap. It was, where I was supposed to be. I knew that it came easy. It wasn't Rachel trying to control it. It was where God needed me to be. And where I was supposed to be. And I, got a job that I could support me and my son on, and I didn't have to ask for anyone's help. I just started becoming an adult, becoming like a normal functioning person in society, but it felt like I had won the lottery, That's what those moments felt like for me. And it still does. In sobriety, I've gotten to take my son because of my job. We've gotten to do so much traveling and so much quality time together. I've gotten to buy a car, live in a home I do by myself with my kid, I get to show up as his mom every day. I get to show up emotionally too, not just physically to pick him up and cook for him, but we get to talk things out, He can say, I'm frustrated and irritated about this, and I can say, well, what can we do about it? How can you find a solution, And these are the gifts that sobriety has given me. I've made friends and met people that have changed my life, that have taught me how to be a useful person in the world. I've learned how to love someone, actually love them and not have to and not have to make it all about Rachel, I've learned how to show up as a mom, as a friend, be present in the moment, not have to worry about all the things that, where I am, what I'm doing, how I look, to everyone else. I get to just live in today. My life is very simple, and I hold that dear to me. I have peace and serenity in my life today. I have fantastic relationships with the women in my life today. I have a wonderful relationship with my mom, which we used to not, I'm sure you could imagine, do very well, but I can be okay, I can handle life on life's terms. The last year hasn't been easy for anybody, but I work in the travel world, so it's been pretty crappy for us, I would say, but I have a job, right? And I got to look at the whole year like I still have a job. I work for a company that can still employ me. I haven't gotten to, necessarily like make as much money or get to travel as much, but I have a job, which is pretty, that's pretty lucky. We worked from home for, I would say, off and on for 4 or 5 months this year, which was a fantastic experience. My son and I got to spend more time. I can change my perspective on life today, when I was drinking and using, the way I would have seen that situation was I'm a victim, I'm making everyone around me feel sorry for me. I'm angry at the world for doing this to me, like I'm the only person being affected by COVID. I've really not been that affected, but I can change my perspective. Alcoholics Anonymous has given me an entirely new way to live my life, to think, to feel, to be, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the steps. I have had the opportunity to work with a few women and take them through the steps, and that has been given me so much more than I could have ever imagined. I've formed relationships with people and seen them grow into these unbelievable women, that get to show up, and it's just such a beautiful process, the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Do I have much more time left? I can't see very well, so I can't tell what time it is. I think it's like 10 till. Okay, I'll wrap it up if that's cool with everyone. Thank you for listening. I cannot believe I even made it that long. I really didn't think I was going to. But, for someone, for a drunk, and drunk like me, I am so grateful to live out of the restriction, the chains that alcohol had put in me, and for this loving God that has graced me with a new life and a new way of living. And I hope I said something that helps someone. Thank you for letting me share.
That was low. Let's thank Rachel one more time.